the big moment of the night is when Joe Biden came out and took the stage. And this was the moment, other than Kamala Harris accepting the nomination, this was the moment I personally was looking forward to more than any other moment, because I've said this before. Joe Biden is going to go down as one of the most consequential and best presidents that we have ever had. History is going to be incredibly kind to this man. And it's not because he's a kind man. It's not just because he is a decent man. It's because the accomplishments that he did, and not just in the short amount of time, the accomplishments he did it despite coming off of some of the worst economic record that he had to take over. Donald Trump, and again, I want to make it clear, when Donald Trump left office, a lot of things were in turmoil. There was a lot of jobs lost. The stock market was down. Everything that could have been happening was happening, and it wasn't great. But it wasn't Donald Trump's fault. I will blame Donald Trump in his COVID reaction and the way that he handled COVID and the deaths and everything else that came with that. But the economic factors, I do not blame Donald Trump for, because that was going to happen no matter who the president was. And why is that? Because it happened all around the world. COVID caused an economic destruction all around the world. So Joe Biden had to take over this destruction. Now, the part where people get severely confused is that because the economy was going to be hurting during the COVID time, the Federal Reserve did things that they normally would not have done. They had reduced interest rates to record lows. Gas prices were at the lowest they had been in a long time because nobody was on the road driving. There was a lot of places shut down. A lot of people lost their jobs. So nobody was driving back and forth. Nobody was going on vacation because Vegas, my favorite place in the world, Las Vegas, was literally shut down. Nobody was traveling. So gas prices were at record lows. Interest rates were at record lows. So all of this happened, and people thought that this is Donald Trump. He did this. He didn't do this. Biden takes over, and what he did, despite all the things that he had to take over, he did a phenomenal job in the recovery from COVID. In fact, we are the envy of the rest of the world in our recovery from COVID. Everything that we have done to this point, people still think for some reason in this country, the inflation is high. The inflation is not high. We were at 9.1% at one point in 2022. Today, we are at 2.9%. That is not high inflation. So I wish people would stop saying that, but they're not going to, because it fits into a narrative. So people are going to continue to say we have these high inflations and the food prices are through the roof and everything is happening because of Joe Biden. It's just not true. I've been over this a million times. But anyway, Joe Biden takes the stage the other day, and this is the moment, again, I was waiting for. I wanted to see the reaction to Joe Biden. The only one criticism that I have in what I'm about to play here is they let the music play on way too long for him. They should have cut the music off way earlier. He did get the applause that he deserved, but I still wish they would have cut the music off a little bit. But let's go back and watch the reaction that Joe Biden definitely deserved. Music should have been cut off.
Thank you.
Music's still going, and that irritated me. I gotta be honest.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm fast forwarding a little bit because it's still irritating me. Finally, the music cuts off.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, so I'm cutting that off. There was still over a minute and a half left of that applause, which he absolutely deserved. And I was really happy to see him get that kind of reaction. And I hope that as time goes on, that the the accolades that he deserves and that I believe he's going to get, that he is able to, realize all of them, and he's able to look back to and say what a hell of a job he did, and I was proud to vote for him, and I was going to be first in line to vote for him again had he stayed in the race. But what he did is, truly one of the most remarkable things any president, any elected official has ever done. I mean, the guy stepped down from the presidency of the United States. And in his words, he did it because he thought he was going to be a distraction to other candidates on the ballot who were worried about his being at the top of the ticket. And because the polls coming out that Donald Trump was showing bigger and bigger leads. So he took that in, obviously talked to his family about it, and moved on, which is 100% an act of heroism. And like I said, proud that he was our president. And I just wish he was 10, 15 years younger, because he would have won again in a landslide. I still think he would have won regardless, but either way, as Baby Juggernaut just says, Joe Biden saved us from Trump. He did. And he may have done it a second time. So, who knows? Lana and I have had this conversation on our show that we still believe that Joe Biden would have won. That might be guided, maybe. It wasn't looking great. So if Trump had won, I certainly wouldn't have been shocked. But I would have been very disappointed in the country for voting for a convicted felon and a liable rapist. And, and especially over somebody who has accomplished so much and has done so much for this country. So, and now him stepping down may have saved us from Trump again. And all signs at this point are pointing to a Harris victory. But I think we all know better to not get complacent, to not think that anything is in the bag. I saw something that I forgot, that I didn't realize back in 2016, it was like a week before the election. Hillary had like a 9-point lead. Now, times were different back then. I do believe there were a lot of people out there who were not proud to say they were going to vote for Donald Trump and did it secretly. So they didn't tell a lot of pollsters because they thought they might even be laughed at. Now, MAGA people are louder and more in your face than ever. So they are not afraid to tell you that they're going to vote for him. I think there are a lot of, maybe there's some MAGA women out there who are afraid to tell their husbands that, you know what, I'm secretly going to vote for this lady who's going to protect my rights and my freedoms as a woman. I'm going to still pretend like I'm voting for Donald Trump. But I don't know if those results are necessarily baked into these polls, in polls that Kamala Harris is leading right now. So, it could be a bigger victory than we thought. But again, complacency is not on my menu at all. And I am prepared to continue to fight as much as I can for Kamala Harris and the Democratic ticket all across the board. And hopefully we can pull this victory out in November.